10 young architects whose projects you've seen as an exhibition outside and in the other room, which has been curated by, so beautifully curated by architect Swapnil Malvatkar. So I request architect Ajay Chandran to introduce architect Nana Patti.
Good evening, colleagues. 8 o'clock, intense session, a lot of learning. For today's entire day, we wanted a guru material to comprehend the entire procedure. For that, it was unanimously identified our good colleague, architect Vijay Nanapati, chief architect of Maya Praxis. More than 2 decades of established professional practice, highly accomplished professional practice. To his credit, won a dozen national, international awards, highly motivating, highly inspiring. He is also the founder member of Christ University, deeply committed to the cause of architecture education. He is part and parcel, he is soul and part and parcel of all academic procedures, let it be reviews, examination process. So for the day's Ashirvachana, we thought it is appropriate that architect Vijay Nanapati, who is known for his intense thinking, deep thinking, and he will be the best person to connect all these, he will kindle today's presenters. All thanks to all the presenters for the day who had found time to share their conviction with us. We have got such enriching process for the day. Thanks goes to the leadership of architect Leena Kumari Madam, along with my colleagues at GEM ASSOCHAM. Over to our guru for the day, our good friend, colleague, architect Vijay Nanapati, who has his base from his PA days as well as his masters from the US, which is based with intense theory, design and history. So all these things put and enable him to comprehend the entire process for the day. Once again, it is my proud privilege to present our good friend, architect Vijay Nanapati, who is the accomplished architect.
I won't take too much time. I think what we want to do is to bring the discussion of what an architectural practice is today, especially for the people who are new to practice. And for this, I think Swapnil has done a wonderful job. Swapnil Malvatkar, he's runs a practice called Collage Architects. I'm sure you all know him. And it's a wonderful team of young architects that he leads by example. And his engagement with the architectural practice has been to organize, to think about practice critically for the past 10 years. And now I think he's organized a wonderful exhibition. I'd like him to please tell us what was the process of curating this and who are these people whose work is displayed here.
Yeah, I think as a young practice, when you start off, you have struggles and then you start, the struggles become a part of your life and then you slowly get better and better. But then what happens is the struggles then start becoming your memories and you start cherishing them over a period of time. And that's something which remains with you as a young, when you start off as a young architect and go on to become, as your practice goes up. So the idea of curating this was to get these young practices on a platform which allows them to showcase their work. And that's something which, when I started curating, when I started putting up this firm, there were many of them who sent their work, and I since it was a space constraint, we said we restricted to 10. First, of course, I really wanted to put it up put up the firms in order of cities, because there are a lot of these two-tier cities which have started to bud really good architects who have either worked in Bangalore or have been developed because of the good institutions that have come up in Belgaum or Hubli, or even Mysore for that matter. So this were the smaller cities, and probably they don't get these platforms where they can express themselves. So that was the first instance when I started putting this group of architects.
I know I'm interrupting. I think a lot of people must be tired. If you want, can you come forward and sit down? It's okay, but as long as you keep social distance. You've been standing a long while. If anyone wants to come forward, just come over and you can sit here, okay? Come. I think it's been 4 hours and a lot of you have been standing. You can, wherever you want to sit, don't feel awkward.
So I think then the next step was, of course, of a brilliant idea, and the third one was of a process-driven, or a process that the firm takes in putting up these projects. And also what was consciously driven was that it need not be just architecture. So we tried to involve interior projects, we tried to involve landscape as well. So we have a landscape architect whose work is presented over here, more as an idea, and that was quite interesting. So that was the basic, I think, the criteria or the platform on which this whole curation was done. And probably what I'll try and do is I'll keep the introduction very short, and I will try and call all of them. I mean, I think about 6 or 7 firms are here. The other 3 or 4 could not make it. But whoever's here, please do come and join. As I announce the names, please come and join on the chairs, on the dais. Yeah. Cicada from Belgaum, and it was formed by 3 people, 3 friends actually, who started the practice as documentation of houses, heritage houses of Belgaum. And there's a book which they released which was quite interesting. It was called The Houses of Belgaum, which went on to become quite a cult, I mean, kind of a book which was well read. The second is by Shreyas Patil Architects, I mean the second firm. It's a single practice, founder practice. Cicada is not here. Shreyas is here. Shreyas, you can come. So Shreyas Patil also is from Belgaum, and he strongly believes that in doing sustainable architecture and architecture to the context. Yeah, I think he deserves a round of applause. Yeah, the third one is Reading Grounds. It's a landscape firm. As the name suggests, they believe strongly in reading the ground. I mean, that's how they name, I mean, they like to call themselves. They are not here today. The fourth one is Manjex Labs. It's a firm of 5 young architects, which is mentored by, everyone knows, B.L. Manjunath, the structural engineer, who this firm believes in exploring the unconventional spaces balanced on the fulcrum of structural design. So it's completely a different way of looking at the architectural practice. So I request Abhijit and yeah, sure. The fifth firm is Parallax from Bangalore, run by Raghu and Nagendra, who believe in creating a very sensible architecture. Raghu. Bear Pineapple, firm formed by Guru and Shivranjani, and their approach to design is by actually asking a question, what's next? So I found it quite interesting when they said that what's next. Every project they approach with this concept in mind. Shivranjani. 2PKM Architects from Mysore. Founded by 4 architects, again under a mentorship of mentor Nelson Pice, and they emphasize on exploring the materiality with form. And I'm not sure if anyone is there from them. Anyone from 2PK? Again, Kapoor Architects from Dharwad, a firm started by 2 siblings, brother and sister, and this has they believe in creating happy spaces. Unfortunately, we don't have them too. MYB in Architecture from Bangalore, formed by LA. They believe strongly in experimental surprise, hearing with nature and people as subjects. And the last one is Shunyan Nawab Design from Bangalore, founded by Chetan and Nikita. And their emphasis has been on three elements: environment, humanity, and city. And they believe that all three are constantly in a flux to create good design. Chetan from Shunyan Nawab.
I'm so surprised by so many people here. And I feel it's like a tribal instinct that we all want to gather somewhere after such a long period of not being able to meet. And I think the reason that we're meeting though is professional. And the discipline actually somehow makes us want to talk about what we do. And that means there's a guild, not in the old traditional sense, but we are a guild of practicing architects, craftsmen of sorts. So if you look at it, I think then there are questions about the practice we should be talking about, and that's the discourse that Edgar was mentioning in the keynote today. And I think we badly miss, although there's a lot of online discussion, it's hard to keep attending them because you get tired of them. It's sort of like there's a tiredness that sets in after you see one or two, after some time you stop looking at them. But I think when you meet together, there is a completely different dynamic. And I thank the organizers, Deena Kumar and others from ASSOCHAM for really putting this together. And it's great to see young practices work, and it's probably not easy to organize this in this time. Swapnil, thanks very much for doing that. So I have a few questions. What I'll do is, these questions are general questions which all of us will keep asking ourselves, but this time instead of we answering, we're going to put them in the spot, right? So I did send them some of those questions and no response. There was a WhatsApp group. I sent them those questions last night and not a single person responded. And I imagine that they're finding it maybe difficult to respond, so let's put them in the spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the question maybe to all of you and see if any of you respond, and if it's like last night, then I'm going to ask one of you to answer. Okay, that's the model. Okay, so I think the first question is, what is the first project of your practice and how does it stand against your best so far? What is the first project of your practice and how does it stand against your best so far?
Hi. It's been almost 15 years since I started my practice. The first project which I sort of recollect is I did a house for one of my uncle in a place called Mandya, which is very close to Mysore. It's a very small plot. It's around, I don't remember the area properly. But during those days when I started practicing, I worked under a firm called Genesis by Prashant Pool was the architect. There used to be a beautiful series of discussion happening. All the time it used to be only architecture, whether you go for lunch or you have tea or you're in the office and stuff like that. And that is where I got introduced to all these masters and stuff like that. Till then, you know how it happens in college. You absolutely have no idea what goes in terms of architecture. So in the initial period when I was interning there, these names sort of recollected and then repeated, and then one of the architect which really was, I mean even today I really have huge regards, was Campo Visa. So I really got extremely impressed with the sort of simplicity, straight lines and the cuboidal sort of whatever sort of architecture he used to sort of develop. So that was one of the things which sort of completely imprinted within me. And what I did, that first project in Mandya, was in terms of trying to like replicate, not take the essence of it. And so to answer your question, I think that is one of the things which I recollect in terms of the architect, which sort of has a huge influence, and the project also. And during the process of time, I somehow feel today, after 14, 15 years of practice, I still feel that that essence remains, because the sort of simplicity what I started, then became a little impure in terms of adding a lot of things which were not were required. Like what you questioned about being decorative and stuff like that. Yeah, indeed, it became too very decorative. And then slowly, once when you understand, and once when you progress or once you journey the entire thing, then you start dusting away things which are really not important. And that is when it comes back. So today, when I stand here, when I see a little bit of, some of my buildings, I feel that I think I'm coming back to how I started off. Is what I.
That's wonderful. So, your first project is teaching you a lesson now after 15 years. That's good. That's great. So I'll go keep it fast and quick. Huh? Though you can't answer again. So this other question is related to what you just said last, but you can't answer. Is your architecture more decorative than it should be?
Most of the time when you're doing any work, right, you're always trying to keep it simple. But also, there is certain elements which is emotionally attached to the client who are, as techno architects just now, he was talking about the emotional wall where they are allowed to do anything in that space. So it's sometimes required to have that kind of space which is decorative, but that's what you give the client, that emotional connect to that space. So that's I think this.
Although I understand what you and Rajesh are saying, I thought of the question in a different context. That architecture that, like he said, had simple straight lines and a minimalist approach, has now become very overt and very expressive. And even our drawings, I can see many of the drawings that came up in the presentations for the ARCHDAILY Awards have become very expressive. And so there is a overt expressiveness that we really feel that we should have in our work that seems almost as if you really want to be appreciated and you want people to say it's really good work rather than keeping the work to what it just should be. I don't know how to do it. So anyway, so this next question, you can't answer now again. So, would you rather make good money than good buildings?
Yeah. Hello everyone. Thanks Swapnil for calling us here. I think for a young practice like ours, it's very important to make good buildings initially. Money will flow eventually. So the house that I've presented here happens to be my first project. So there was a client who I had to deal with before this, who came up to me with an image of a Corinthian column with a pediment style house. And he said to me, you're a youngster and you learn a lot of money, so you need to take this project. And he said that this was a kind of a gated community. So it was like, I do that house and I get a few more in line. So I somehow had to put that down because I was kind of starting the practice alone and I didn't know much about it. So I picked Hosur house and it so happens that I get to do more of this, more of quality work now. So I think initial years it's best to pick good work over money.
That's a very good answer, yes. But I hope you said money is more important than me. We would have a big debate. So the next question is... no, you can't answer. But we'll see, if everybody's quiet then you can. So, who is the villain of the scenario that your practice is located in? Is it the client, the contractor, your partner, or your consultant? He's cheating here.
Vastu. It's always Vastu. It's like now there is personalized Vastu, there is like a individualistic Vastu. I mean, like whatever you think you already know about Vastu, there's a newer version always coming up.
Hi everyone. I think it's we as architects. Okay, I think it's we as architects who are the villains because we design certain things, we perceive some things based on client requirements and ideas and everything. And when things are not happening as the way you want it to happen, that's when we become the villains, because we want to achieve what we have designed.
Yeah, great. I think that means there are some villains, but and you think you're the hero, but I don't know if that's right. Okay, this question is a little different. Do you have a love-hate relationship with architecture? Difficult. Then I'll ask another one.
No, I can answer this. So it's more of love and little bit of hate, and the little hate comes when you practice in your hometown and you have your relatives call you and ask you to be the plumber and the electrician for their renovation projects. Otherwise, it's all love, I think.
That's true, right? If I'm walking in the morning walk, people will stop me and say, there's something that's leaking. So I really have to put my mask on these days. Sorry guys. So there is another question, because you're young practices, I want to ask is, was college education relevant to your architectural practice? We don't have much time, otherwise it will be good.
Hi, thank you. Not really, it helps directly, but the passion, what they taught us, that is what has taken us till today. We're able to, as a studio, we started 5 years back, still we work like late night and everything. That's been learned from the college. I don't think so anywhere else would have been started with it. I think it is still, it will sort of help us in the way we practice.
I am really surprised that his answer is mixed for me, because I'm also a teacher. Right? He's saying no, but late nights are the only thing. What are you doing late nights there? Huh? No, but I think we tend to forget that college has a deep impact in your lives, and I think we are critical about certain things that we did not learn in college, but that doesn't, I think, take away from the fact that college sets out this journey for you, and it's an important moment in your life. So, okay, maybe the last question. Should we?
Yeah, you can ask everybody.
Yeah, 2 more. Yeah. All right. So, who has been the most influential in shaping your approach to your work? I know that.
So, there's a right answer to this. There's an opinion and there's a right answer to this. So, obviously, Bommasandra. He's the mentor, so I have to say that. But yeah, we are exposed to every architect that comes to office. So it's not just the fact that we have an amazing mentor like Bommasandra, but also every single style of architecture, every single type of design that we see comes from all the people around us, right? Like LA's come to office, you have come to office. So we're abundant with, perspective. So it really helps us define how we would like to shape that perspective for us now.
I'll ask a different question. Okay, he's just saying he's not so confused by all these different people coming and throwing different ideas. As it is, he has this man confusing him so much that. Okay, but he is not bad. He shaped out pretty good. Yes. So this question is very important to me, so I'll ask this anyway as a last question. Are we making, I've asked everybody's answer except you. Are we making architecture without any sense to its local ecology? Serious question.
This thing I just want to ask whether it's a general opinion or it's particular to what.
How are you?
Yeah, so generally, yeah, I do feel we are moving towards less ecological sense of ecology, because people are trying to see architecture as a visual sense, and they don't actually pay that much attention to what is locally available. That is one concern. And The other thing is, since how we are leading towards environmental problems and other things that are happening, I think, like according to me, I think that we should actually give more weightage towards local ecology and see how we can incorporate it in any way possible in all our buildings, even in the smallest way.
How about your work?
In our work, like basically, the other thing that we are seeing is like what we actually believe in is, in one sense, like create a lighter footprint on the ground. It's not local ecology, but on a bigger carbon footprint, we are actually trying to move towards steel, which is lighter on the ground and also less invasive into your ground. So in that sense, I think that's how we're slightly, in a small way, helping.
I thought that was a very good answer. Alright, I think we finished. I don't think it's a long day. And I must say they answered very well. Please give them a big hand. I think they have a very wonderful future ahead. And thank you very much. Thanks you all.
Thank you, Vijay, and the young architects for the fabulous. Please stay for the fabulous panel discussion. I request Professor Rama Subramaniam to felicitate Vijay. Yeah, they can't be. Thank you. Architect Jitendra Naik, could you come up please to felicitate Architect Jitendra Naik? Okay, Architect Kuldeep, hungry cake. Felicitate Shreyas. I think some of them are missing, so I'm just going to call out the names. Shivani. And Shivani also, please. Architect Bharat Gowda, please, can you felicitate Swapnil, Architect Swapnil? Architect Ashwini Kalmani, can you please come in? Felicitate Abhijit. Abhijit is there? Yeah. Rako is there? Architect Ashwini? To felicitate Ashwin. Okay, sorry. Architect Ajay Chandran to felicitate Suhas. Suhas is there? No, Suhas is not there. Ile? Yeah. Yeah, Architect Kuldeep Halvikar. Yeah, Architect Kuldeep Halvikar to felicitate Chaitanya. Thank you so much for this wonderful panel discussion. Now we come to the end of our program. I invite Architect Bindi Solapurkar to give the vote of thanks.
I am here to do formal vote of thanks, but I have decided it has been a really long time. So I just want to say thank you to two people. One is all the speakers who shared their ideas and spared their time with us, and Sipani group of people, Nagraj, Sana and Puneet for working with us hand in hand. Thank you and have a happy weekend.